So today our chapter is going to be on carbon and biomolecules. As you can see here, we have two humans standing right here, and they are made of matters. We know that the cell is a basic unit of life, but even cells are still made of matter, right? Because they have two properties that matters exist. Cells also has mass, because we know that they weight for something, and it also occupies certain volume. So it occupies space, it has a volume. Since we are made of cells, cells is a type of matter, and matter is made out of atom. It means that atoms can group together in order to make who we are today. We know that atom and atom can interact with each other. They form bonds in between different atoms in order to make a bigger things, which we call a molecule. They make a molecules if atoms wants to share their electrons in between and they get stick together, right? So I have one atom grouped with one atoms. Now they become molecules. There are two types of molecules in our world. The first thing is what we have learned before, which is an inorganic molecules. So basically molecules that don't contribute to living organisms. Organic just means living organisms, organ. We have learned one type of particular molecules before through the bonding of covalent bonds. We remember learning the formation of water through one oxygen and two hydrogen, right? So two hydrogen atoms bonded with one oxygen atom through covalent bond by sharing their electron. So now I have one water molecule. So this is an inorganic water molecule. We are now moving on to a different type of molecule, which is organic molecule. So organic molecule is really just molecules that makes life. So how do I know the differences between organic molecules and inorganic molecules? Well, first of all, you can see whether they can contribute to life. And second thing we can observe is that organic molecules tend to be using one particular type of element to make this molecule. And that particular element is carbon, C-A-R-B-O-N. So carbon-based molecule basically means molecules that are made using carbon is usually organic molecules. We will talk about exceptions, but typically this is the pattern. Carbon-based molecule is the molecules that makes up all the organic molecules. So what's so special about this carbon molecule? So we know that carbon has 6 protons. So the proton number for carbon is 6. And since this carbon atom is neutral, its electron is 6. So it has 6 electrons. If we look at the electron configuration for a carbon atom, carbon in the center, in its nucleus with the proton, I'm not going to draw it out. But let's draw out the electron shell for the carbon. The first shell is going to occupy 2 electrons. So I'm going to draw the shell in orange color. So this is the electron shell, the first shell. We know that the innermost shell can only occupy a maximum of 2 electrons. So there will only be 2 electrons in the first level shell. So now I have used up 2 electrons. So 6 minus 2, I only have 4 electrons left, right? So these 4 electrons will have to go to the second shell. So I'm just going to erase this and draw my second shell. And in this second shell, it will be able to fill in 4 electrons because that's all the electrons that a carbon has left. And these 4 electrons will be occupying a shell which we call the valence shell because it is the outermost shell we have for carbon, so valence shell. And by this model, we can see that a carbon has a valence electron of 4, which means it has 4 electrons at the outermost shell. According to our octet rule, we know that an atom will always want to fill up its valence shell. Fill up its valence shell. And since this valence shell is at level 2, right, energy level 2, it can have a maximum capacity, the maximum capacity of 8. Which means carbon would still need 4 electrons, right? And remember our last class about electronegativity and how atoms can achieve valence shells, or how atoms can achieve octet rule is by really just 2 methods. You can either give away electron, so I give my electrons away so that my outermost shell just disappeared, so what's inside the shell is a filled shell, so I will achieve my octet rule. Or I can take electron. So I can take other people's electrons in order to fill up my shell. So carbon is currently in a very awkward position because carbon can give 4 electrons away or take 4 electrons away. Since carbon is in this very dilemma situation because giving 4 electrons is kinda the same as taking 4 electrons away, so it's in a difficult situation. Carbon doesn't know what to do with the electrons. So carbons tend to form covalent bond just by sharing electrons with other molecules. So carbon tend not to form ions by giving or taking electrons, but the only option for carbon is to share electron. So carbon really likes to form covalent bond because this is how a covalent bond is formed, through sharing of electron. Covalent bond. So as you can see, in this particular model, this carbon can just share 1 electron with, let's say, hydrogen, right? So a hydrogen would have 1 valence electron. So let's not just share with 1 hydrogen, let's share with 4 hydrogen. So now I will have 4 hydrogens sticking to this carbon. And as we calculate the valence electron for carbon right now, carbon now has 8 electrons. And hydrogen also completes its valence shell. Now I have a model where everyone's happy. Hydrogen's happy because the valence shell is filled in the first shell. Carbon is happy because carbon has its valence shells filled as well. So this is a molecule, an organic molecule with a chemical name of CH4. 1 carbon and 4 hydrogen. And this is the typical gas that we're all too familiar with, which is methane.